It's a warm welcome here in our studio in Sarekunda. This is Star TV News and I am May Manager Fadera. In the headlines tonight, Kanifing Court remands 3 years journal leaders at Mile 2 case moved to High Court. Unit Group and GCCI signed partnership deal ahead of March trade fair. Supreme Court ruling restores public confidence in fading New Gambia. On the international scene, French oil giant Total faces lawsuit over violations in Uganda. Palestinian president to take Trump's Middle East plan to UN. White House warns Bolton lawyer against publishing book. Those were the headlines and now the news in details. The chairman of the 3 years Jadna movement, Abdunjai Yankuba Dabo alias Yangs Dabo, and 6 others have been remanded at Mile 2 Central Prisons in Banjul, following the lower court in Kanifing lacking the jurisdiction to hear the case on Wednesday by virtue of the third count of demolition of structures, which could be a life imprisonment. Jacqueline Colley files in this report.
The matter was subsequently transferred to the High Court Division. Others 6 are Ibrahim Kitim Jaju, Shirifo Sonko, Haji Suware, Phantom Balo, Karim Toure and Mutar Sise, all whom are executive members of Operation 3 Years Jatna, a pressure group protesting for the resignation of President Adama Barrow as in line with his promise to serve 3 years during his campaign in 2016. They are charged with 3 counts of unlawful assembly, rioting after proclamation, and riotous demolition structures. Before the principal magistrate, Peret Sar, the accused enjoyed the representation of several lawyers, including Bori S. Toure, Lamin Kamara, Lamin J. Dabo, Ibrahima Jallo, while the police were represented by Superintendent Balo. Soon after, the police asked for the matter to be transferred to the High Court over the issue of lack of jurisdiction of Kanifing Magistrates Court to hear the matter. Even though Lamin S. Kamara rose to submit that the offences their clients were charged with were committed within Kanifing municipality and urged the court to proceed. The trial magistrate ruled against him and transferred the case to the High Court in Banjul and remanded the accused persons to Mile 2 pending the Special Criminal Court hearing. Jacqueline Colley reporting for Star TV News.
In commemoration of Unique Group's subsidiary company, Unique Solutions Company Limited 20th anniversary, Mr. Papa Yusuf Njai, Chief Executive Officer of the Unique Group of Companies on Friday, 17th January 2020, formally signed as one of the major partners for the upcoming 14th edition of the Gambia's International Trade Fair with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, to be held at the Independence Stadium, Bakau from the 21st March to 12 April 2020. Winter Colley Census Report.
The Unique Group is one of the Gambia's most diversified business corporations within an outstanding reputation for exceptional and innovative service delivery over the past years. The Unique Group operates in the Gambia within the sub-region and overseas through its various subsidiaries, namely Unique Solution, Unique Energy, Unique Industries, and Unique Global. The Chief Executive Officer for Unique Group Company Limited, Mr. Papa Yusuf Njai, said the company's dedication to providing solutions that leave a lasting legacy in projects of national, financial, and economic importance. The Unique Group is proud to partner with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, whose mandate is to enhance business development, promote trade, and advance Gambian business nationally and internationally. The International Trade Fair, being an annual event organized by the GCCI in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, continues to attract both local and international traders since its inception. For Star TV News, I am Binta Colley.
Supreme Court of the Gambia has restored some hopes and public confidence in the new Gambia by handing down a landmark decision that involved the President of the Republic, Adama Barrow. This misnominated member of National Assembly, Yakumba Jaite, has challenged the President's decision for arbitrarily revoking her nomination in 2019 before the country's apex court, praying for the court to declare that the revocation of her nomination was unconstitutional. Jacqueline Colley reports.
Nearly a year after the case was filed, Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that the termination of Yakumba Jaite through executive letter is unlawful, null and void, adding that the third defendant for the Gassama's nomination is unconstitutional, null and void. The court also issued an injunction for Fode Gassama to desist from presenting himself as a nominated member of the National Assembly anywhere. It was largely believed that her nomination was revoked by President Barrow because she was not speaking in his interest in the House, instead giving support to the United Democratic Party, the party Barrow originally belonged before their separation. I feel very happy about the verdict. This is a huge victory for our country and our democracy. I'm so happy about this victory. It's a good day for me and all lovers of democracy and the rule of law, Yakumba said in the post-judgment. The Secretary General of the United Democratic Party Youth Arm, Kemo Bojang, said it's a great day for the country and its people. It's a great day for us, a great day for the Gambia, a great day for justice and a great day for democracy, he told the Chronicle. As an emerging democracy, the separation of power is a sector that we would like to definitely push for. For us, Yakumba challenging the president in court shows that we will hold the judiciary at highest esteem, he added. Kemo is pleased that the constitution yet to come into force, though, has not given the president the power to nominate members of the National Assembly. The current constitution has empowered the president to nominate 5 who are largely seen as his representatives in the assembly on top of elected members of his or her party. This gives them the power to fire them to lose their seats. This is a great day for the party. It means in the parliament we have another voice there. Not just there for us, but she will be there for the interest of the Gambia, because Yakumba has always been instrumental in the National Assembly, he said. Said Mati Jao, lecturer at the University of the Gambia, describes the Supreme Court decision as a victory for democracy. This is a victory for democracy and rule of law. It shows that the Apex Court is interested in defending the Constitution and, most importantly, emphasizing separation of powers. But most importantly, today's ruling is a clear testament of the independence of the judiciary post-Jammeh. Democracy and Gambia won today, he told the Chronicles. The former mayoral contestant for Kanifing Municipal Council, Bakari Baji, said, "This is a strong indication that there is hope in the country's judicial system." Yakumba winning her case, especially against a decision taken by the president, is a strong indication that one's compromised judiciary has fully evolved into a true co-equal branch of government, a branch that recognizes its independence and is ready to uphold the law no matter who is affected, he told the Chronicles. He emphasizes that it is also a victory for the Gambia and her budding democracy. While I congratulate Honorable Yakumba Jaite and her legal team, I hope this becomes a lesson to the rest of the citizens that instead of restoring to acts that can be deemed a violation of law or given up, we can rely on a progressively independent arbiter to seek redress when we think an action of a government official is unconstitutional. There is no loser, neither President Barrow nor Honorable Fode Gassama. We should rather see this ruling as a normal play out in a democracy. This president could hit in the spirit in people whose rights were violated or will be violated in the future by taking similar route against government decision they feel has disregarded the due process. I am Jacqueline Coley, reporting for Star TV News.
We are going for a short break and we'll be back with the international news. And now the news beyond our borders. A French court is due to decide whether oil giant Total is addressing the human and environmental impact of an oil field in Uganda. The case was brought by several human rights groups who accuse the firm of failing to properly compensate farmers removed from their land. Al Jazeera's Katrin Soy reports from Bulisa in western Uganda.
Beneath this expansive land in western Uganda, there's an estimated 6 billion barrels worth of oil. The China National Offshore Oil Corporation and the French multinational Total have major operations here, including the Tilenga mega project, which is expected to produce 190,000 barrels a day. But there is a problem. Thousands of people who have been moved from their villages to make way for the development say they were forced to accept compensation of just $1,000 an acre, and that's not enough. Most of the people who took a cash compensation could not even afford to buy land elsewhere. So now they stay in rental houses in village centers like this one and rely on casual jobs to make a living. Fred Mesigwa refused the deal and says his land was worth more to him than the $3,000 he was offered.
I was cultivating my land, I pay my school fees to my children, and I used to go to good hospitals. But after they came, their life became harder. They stopped me using my land.
Dickens Kamugesha runs a non-profit organization that has helped Mesigwa and other farmers take the matter to court in France. He says the oil project will affect about 50,000 people in the western and central regions of the country. This is the first case under a new French law, which requires large corporations to make sure proper care and attention is paid to the local population and environment.
If these people were not frustrated, they were not suffering, were not actually, it was between life and death, they would not have accepted, most of them would not have accepted compensation.
The Tilenga project lies partly in the Murchison Falls National Park. Some rights groups say plans to protect the environment are not clear, but government officials insist everything has been done lawfully.
We realize the environment is important. Tourism is one of the key earners for our economy, and so we must explore this oil, must exploit this oil and gas resources, while being cognizant of the fact that we need to coexist with the environment.
Back at the Mesigwa homestead, they tell us the oil project has made the family much poorer, and signing a bad compensation deal would only make things worse. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Bulisa, Western Uganda.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas will raise the issue of U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East plan with the United Nations Security Council in February. Palestinian leaders have denounced the plan, which they say extends Israel control over their lands. Ria Mansour, Palestinian envoy to the UN, says he hopes the 15-member group will back a draft resolution on the issue. Al Jazeera's James Bay has more from the United Nations in New York.
Just moments before this meeting, the Palestinian ambassador met the current president of the Security Council, the Vietnamese ambassador Dong Dinh Quy. They discussed plans for President Abbas to address the council as part of a diplomatic offensive that will also include trips to the African Union and this weekend to the Arab League. The aim is to defeat the Trump plan.
To drag us to negotiate after they steal another 40% of the occupied West Bank, and to negotiate over 4 years the details of the leftover. It is a recipe for the destruction of the national rights of the Palestinian people, and it will not fly. It is not acceptable. And those who think that the Palestinian people will evaporate, they will not.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has been very guarded in his response to the Trump plan, only issuing a written statement reiterating that the UN position is defined by existing Security Council and General Assembly resolutions. The Trump plan clearly contravenes these, but the UN spokesperson is careful not to make that clear publicly.
We've seen the announcement of the plan. I'm not going to get into that, which will be left to others to decide, notably member states themselves.
Does he think this is a peace plan or an annexation plan?
I'm not going to characterize it. The Secretary General did in fact receive a call from Mr. Kushner yesterday afternoon, who briefed him on the plan, but I'm not going to go further than what I've said.
By the time President Abbas comes here in the next 2 weeks, I'm told the current Arab member of the Security Council, Tunisia, will have prepared a draft resolution condemning the Trump plan. If it's voted on, the US is bound as a permanent member to use its veto. However, the Palestinians are hoping they'll be isolated, with all the other members of the Security Council either supporting them or abstaining. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
U.S. Democrats are stepping up their calls for witnesses to testify at the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump in the run-up to a crucial Senate vote on Friday. It comes as the latest hearing was overshadowed by the fallout from an upcoming book by former National Security Advisor John Bolton, which reportedly portrays Trump as playing a central role in asking Ukraine to investigate a political rival in exchange for military aid. In a letter obtained by Al Jazeera, the White House wants Bolton to not publish the book without deleting classified information. Al Jazeera's Heidi Castro reports from Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump's defense team has a novel argument for his acquittal, that the president asking Ukraine for dirt on a political opponent may be in his personal interest and also in the interest of the United States, making him immune.
If a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
Democrats prosecuting Trump say his intent was purely for political gain.
So all quid pros are not the same. Some are legitimate and some are corrupt, and you don't need to be a mind reader to figure out which is which. For one thing, you can ask John Bolton.
John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, reportedly claims in an upcoming book that Trump directly tied his hold on security aid to Ukraine to his demand for investigations into Joe Biden. In a letter obtained by Al Jazeera, the White House warns Bolton not to publish his book without deleting classified information. On Twitter Wednesday, Trump said the book was nasty, untrue, and all classified. Democrats want to call Bolton as a witness. They'll need support from 4 Republican senators to make that happen.
They vote no. They're saying this is a sham. They're saying we don't want to hear the truth. What does that say to America about this body?
Meanwhile, someone else was all but begging for senators to call him to testify.
The president knew everything that was going on in Ukraine.
Trump donor Lev Parnas says he was dispatched to Ukraine by Trump's attorney to stir up dirt useful for Trump's re-election. Parnas is under federal indictment for campaign fraud and says he came to the Capitol wearing an ankle monitor to make amends. Democrats have acknowledged getting Republicans to agree to witnesses is an uphill battle. That question will be put to a vote Friday. If the answer is no, Trump could be immediately acquitted. Heidi Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
A security company in the United Arab Emirates, UAE, is being accused of deception after giving jobs to young Sudanese men who say they were then sent to fight in wars. Dozens have managed to return home, but many others are believed to still be in Yemen or Libya. Al Jazeera's Hiba Morgan reports from Khartoum.
When Abid Dafallah got a letter from a recruitment company late last year about work in the United Arab Emirates, he was delighted. He would be able to send money back home to help his family. He applied for a job as a security guard and was taken on by an Emirati company called Black Shield. But when he arrived in Abu Dhabi, he was in for a shock.
We were taken to a military camp and given training on how to handle heavy weapons. Most of our supervisors were Emiratis. It was not the type of training you'd get for a job as a security guard. When I asked why we were being trained on heavy weapons if we were supposed to work as security guards, they said we could be sent to Libya or Yemen to protect Emirati installations.
Abid is now back in Sudan after a campaign by the families of those who were recruited. In all, about 200 Sudanese men returned on Tuesday and immediately went to the UAE embassy in Khartoum to stage a protest outside. They say hundreds of their fellow Sudanese are still either in the Emirates at training camps or in Libya. The recruitment company in Sudan has refused to comment. Hundreds of young Sudanese men thought they were going to be security guards in the UAE when they were taken on by Black Shield. Their families say they quickly discovered they were expected to fight as mercenaries in the wars in Libya and Yemen. They're now appealing to the Sudanese government to use its influence with the United Arab Emirates and bring all their sons home. Sudan's Ministry of Information says it's aware of the issue and is working to ensure the safety of all of those who were recruited.
Communication is ongoing. Some of the youths who are in the camps in the UAE have come back. Our operations unit is working to gather information. We are in touch with the families and embassies of Sudan and the Emirati authorities who have been cooperative, and with the company. In a few days, this issue may be over.
Nadia Omar's son was one of the first to take up the offer of a job.
We have nothing besides crying and tears. This is not how I usually sound. It's because of all the crying. People console me and say he's not dead. And when he started messaging us, I told his sister to write and say, Luai, if you're in Libya, come back.
A sentiment shared by many other mothers who say no amount of money is worth more than having their son safely back home. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
Hundreds of people from Japan and the United States are returning home after being evacuated from China's Hubei province. The region is at the center of the coronavirus outbreak, which has so far left more than 130 people dead and nearly 6,000 others infected. The evacuations come as some commercial airlines have reduced the number of flights to China or stopped flying there altogether. Al Jazeera's Winnie He reports from Hong Kong.
After completing an emergency mission, a plane carrying more than 200 Japanese citizens arrives in Tokyo from China. They're among the first foreign nationals to be evacuated by their government from Wuhan, the capital of Hubei province, which is under lockdown because of coronavirus.
I was very worried because the situation changed very rapidly. Honestly, I am quite relieved that they brought us home swiftly with the chartered plane.
Upon arrival, 4 of the passengers, suffering flu-like symptoms, were taken to hospital. As the crisis deepens, more countries are looking to follow the lead of Japan and the United States and begin airlifting their nationals out.
We have taken a decision this morning to prepare a plan for an operation to provide some assisted departures for isolated and vulnerable Australians in Wuhan in the Hubei province.
In Wuhan, where the outbreak started, medical staff and hospitals are struggling to cope with the number of cases which grows by the day. So 2 completely new makeshift hospitals are being built to treat coronavirus patients, with construction workers operating around the clock. And the government is sending thousands of extra doctors and nurses to Hubei province from other parts of China.
I will tell my family the exciting news after I come back. I've not dared to tell them now for fear that they would be worried about me.
In Hong Kong, where there are several confirmed cases of the virus, the government has been criticised for being too slow to react. It's now suspended ferry and train services to and from mainland China indefinitely. The Hong Kong government has been coming under increasing pressure, with many calling for the border crossings between here and mainland China to be closed completely, which hasn't happened. The partial closure is being welcomed, but there is also a sense that it has come too late and isn't enough. The transport restrictions will heap more pressure on the economy of this city, which is already struggling after months of anti-government protests. Wayne Hay, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Carnifin Court remands 3 years journalists at Mile 2 case moved to High Court. Unit Group and GCCI signed partnership deal ahead of March trade fair. Supreme Court ruling restores public confidence in fading New Gambia. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you.